Welcome back. It's time to dive into the earnings from KB Homes. They just came out about a minute ago. So let's bring in George Tsilis, our senior markets correspondent, to talk with us about this. George, I just pulled this open. Looks like they have a small beat on revenue and a beat on EPS. Yeah. Will you walk us through what they reported?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at normally the EPS and sales, they actually beat both top and bottom line just fractionally. It looks like the EPS came in at $1.50 versus $1.45, and nonetheless, that was still down about 30% compared to the same quarter last year, which that quarter they published around $2.50. But more importantly, I think it's sequentially it was actually an improvement. Because last quarter they published $1.49, so they were expected to be down sequentially to $1.45. They came in at $1.50. Sales also came in just fractionally higher, $1.52 billion versus the $1.51 billion estimate. That was still down 11% year over year, and sequentially that was also higher than last quarter, which they published $1.39 billion. I did see the average selling price is important because last quarter, they actually had a very robust number in ASP, which was essentially close to 500,000, but that was still down year over year. Forgive me, higher by 4% year over year. But the delivery numbers last quarter were very low. 2770 was the print, and it looks like the number of deliveries, if I got this correct, this quarter was over 3,000 units.
And as I'm looking at, they have their small beat. And as the market's responding, as I'm refreshing this, it says that they lowered their build times and they reduced their direct construction costs as one of their notes of how they posted these beats on top and bottom. But with the potential tariff impact, are they going to be able to sustain this long term?
Well, I think there's a few problems going on. I mean, obviously, foremost, there's interest rate problem. But one of the things the home builders and KBH have been doing is they've been maintaining resale price maintenance in terms of pricing power, and it's oscillating. Now, if you look at this quarter, the median level was around 488,000, so they're losing some traction from the ASPs, but that might be based on some of the seasonal factors as we move from Q1 to Q2. I think total unit deliveries have been going down, but now we're actually seeing some challenges because average selling prices are going down. So they have been, at the very least, with higher interest rates and lower volumes, tapping into the inelasticity of demand still with maintaining high price points. And typically speaking, KBH is a little bit more on the lower end of the scale at around $500,000 per unit versus Toll Brothers, which is probably close to $1 million, if not more than that, on an average unit. So KBH has really relied on volume and selling prices that have been higher. And now we're seeing, I think, some peelback of the potential consumer, apt to pay these prices, while at the same time volumes have been going down. So I think this is still a challenging environment for KBH because interest rates are still a challenge for the bottom line consumer to maintain, of course, these price levels. But the stock has really reflected this as well, and I think the tariff issue has become a problem, which again might exacerbate some of the costs embedded in their operating costs going forward. But again, if you look at the stock price action since September of last year, the stock is down already 40%. So what I do see is slowing revenue growth, at least this year, going into next year. But they are expected to increase their EPS growth between this year and next year. So that tells me they're anticipating slower sales growth, and they're trying to offset that through some cost mitigation efforts going forward. Now, the stock is trading right now close to its 200-week moving average after a 40% decline off the highs going back to September. But nonetheless, valuation of the company around 7 times earnings is right in line with its 5-year average. And the growth rates, both in earnings and sales, are going down. So again, the stock is trying to, of course, make some ground up here, but nonetheless, it's still challenged. The trend is still to the downside, so be mindful of that.
And did they issue third quarter guidance?
I haven't seen the guidance yet.
Just as I'm scrolling through the report, it's always a wonder what's driving it down. They were up on the day. I mean, some positive sentiment about them, up 3% on the day, now down about 3% after hours as I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
You were saying that average selling price was, what, $494,000. They're now predicting guidance for the third quarter average selling price in the range of $480 to $490. So they are lowering some of those costs, like you said. Housing revenues in the range of 6.3 to 6.5 billion. I'm wondering if that's maybe some of where we're seeing that drop.
It is. So when I looked at this now, thanks for your patience there. If you look at the revenue guidance they provided, 6.3 to 6.5, right here I have 6.6 was the median target for this fiscal year. And again, with the 488 ASP, average selling price, I'm going to just use last quarter's comparisons. They were right over 500,000. So it looks like they're expecting slower sales growth. And I did mention this just a moment ago as well, going into next year. But it does look like there's a potential inflection point in earnings. And that's important because when there's an inflection point in earnings, in other words, earnings are going down, with revenues going down, earnings are expected to rise. That gives you an idea that they're trying to mitigate some expenses going forward. And that could essentially provide some inflection point in the stock price, all else equal. Perhaps some easement of interest rates will help as well.
Well, George, thank you so much for breaking those down for us right as they came out. To the minute when I said hello to you, they had just been released. So thank you for doing that for us.